Okay, so now I am back home and still on learning intention about 10. Let's see what's going on here. So it says remember. Okay, so I did that. Now here it says remember. Rational times rational is rational. Irrational times irrational is irrational when the rational is not 0. Because when you multiply anything times 0, you're going to get 0. And then that will make it rational. I hope I'm making myself understood. Irrational times irrational, it's either rational or irrational. So it depends on what you multiply. And we already saw the examples. You want me to go back to the examples? Easy. Look, here you have a very good example. This is irrational and this is irrational. And when you multiply them, you got radical 10. But radical 10 cannot be simplified, so it is, it doesn't have a perfect square root, so it's irrational. Irrational. Here, radical 2 times radical 8 is radical 16. And the square root of 16 is 4, so it is rational. So this is irrational. This is rational, so you gotta be very, 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 very careful. Okay? Alright then. So now let's move on. So it says here sums and products of rational and irrational numbers. And this is nothing more than a summary of what we just learned. So addition of two rational numbers will result in a sum that is what? Okay, and remember, you have to read this. You cannot just go and write the answer. You have to read it so you could memorize it, so you could learn it, analyze it, and then you will be able to produce a logical response, okay, a logical argument. Multiplication of two rational numbers will result in, listen, rational, and with rational, we'll always give you rational. It's only when you multiply two irrationals that you get something different. Addition of rational and an irrational number. If you add a rational and an irrational number, what are you gonna get? There you go. If you're my student and you said it, I'll give you 10 points. Good job. Multiplication of a non-zero rational number and an irrational number results in what? Rational times irrational is what? Very good. Excellent. Another 10 points. Okay. Now, the sum or product of two irrational numbers may be the sum of two irrational numbers. It's funny because you're right. Let's say you have the number, I'm just gonna say something. Let's say you have the irrational number 2.1479 and blah blah blah, and then you have the other irrational number as 2.96 let's see now, sorry, let's start here. 1 2 5 and 8. Let's have that. So if I was to add these two numbers, let's see now, and they go on forever, right? They both go on forever. So I'm assuming that if I was to add this, I get 0. Okay, that's 9 plus 1 is 10, so I put the 0, right? And then carry 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, so that's 0. Then carry 1. 5 plus 5 is 10, so that's 0. Carry 1. 2 plus 8 is 10, that's 0. And then carry 1, so 3 plus 2 is 5. So yes, I never thought about this, but so if the sum of two irrational numbers, you might get, might be rational or irrational, just like the multiplication. So then we're gonna write rational or irrational. Good, I caught you. Always catching you. All right, let's see now. What do we have here? Operations with rational and irrational numbers. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna zoom this out, and hopefully you could see this. When two rational numbers are added or subtracted, the result is rational. Okay. When two irrational numbers are added or subtracted, the result is irrational. And as we saw, it might be rational or might be irrational. So this is not entirely true. You might want to critique, you might want to counter this with a counter example. So just remember that. You're always entitled to contradict facts if you know that you have an example to back it up. All right. When an irrational number and a rational number are added or subtracted, the sum is irrational. When an irrational number and a rational number, irrational and rational, sure, yes, the sum is irrational. Perfect. All right, so basically these are facts. I'm not gonna go through this because we already did that. And here you have the two scenarios. This is when you multiply, right? Rational, when you multiply two irrationals and the product is rational. Okay, and this is a rational quotient, the division. Look, when you're dividing two radicals, you're entitled to actually divide the radicands. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Boom. And the square root of 4 is 2. And 2 is rational because I can express it as 2 over 1 as a fraction. And of course, here you go. This is the example when you multiply two irrationals and the result is irrational. Do you see? Radical 7 times radical 3 is radical 21. Then when you calculate it, that's what you get. And then you have the note. It says, be careful using a calculator. Why? Because the calculator will run out of numbers. And you should be, like mindful. If the calculator gives you like 10 different numbers or 7 different numbers, that the result will be irrational. Plus, anyway, you already know your facts. So look, when your division is irrational, radical 10 over radical 5, 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that's radical 2. Well, that was easy. Independent practice number 10. We got here. So let's see what's up. What can we get? So it says, turn to your partner and discuss strategies to use when solving these exercises. Of course, that's what you all should always do. So determine if the product of 3 radical 2 and 8 radical 18 is rational or irrational. Explain your answer. Well, first of all, I have to figure it out. So I could use a different paper, okay, and then I'll write my own answer. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let me just go get my notebook. Get my notebook. My notebook. I used to say my crazy book. Sorry. And I think my dog is in carpet mode because his legs are like spread out on the floor and he's not moving. And when I say not moving, that means like he's just there resting. All right, so let me get a piece of paper. That's what I'm gonna work on. Ta-dam, ta-dam, ta-dam. So let's see now. I'm supposed to figure out. So let's see, 3 radical 2 and 8 radical 18. That's what I have. So let's see now. It says the product. I'm supposed to multiply. So when I multiply, so 3 times, when you multiply radicals, you multiply the natural part, the rational part, which is the 3 and the 8. That's 24. And you multiply the radicands, which is the insides. So I have 24 radical 36, which is also read 24 times radical 36, which is also read as 24 times the square root of 36. Well, this is nothing more than 24 times 6 because 6, the square root of 36 is 6. There you go. And now what is 24 times 6? Well, let's see. 6 times 4 is 24, carry 2. 6 times 2 is 12, 2, so this is 144. Okay, 144 is rational. Therefore, now we are about to write our explanation. And thank God my students write fast, so I don't have to be pausing. Ha ha ha. Alright, so let's see now. Determine, explain your answer. Okay, so this is how you start a complete response using logical arguments, using your analogy, using everything that you need in order to have, to show that you have higher order thinking. So I am going to write the product, okay, no, based on the following mathematical evidence, the product, okay, the product of, you know what, let me see if it fits right here. I just don't wanna make you blind. Oh gosh, I mean I could see this, but the product of, and then you write 3 radical 2, okay, and 8 radical 18 is a rational number, okay, and then you write because, and then you could say 3 times 8 is 24, and radical 2 times radical 18, okay, is radical 36, which equals 6. See that? And 24 times 6 equals 144. And 144 can be written as 144 over 1. Therefore, the product is rational. Although, and you could keep on writing, although the product of 2 irrational numbers may be rational or irrational, but in this case, it resulted being rational. That's it. Okay, so now, next one. Let's see now. Which statement is not always true? Okay, we've been through this a lot. Explain, provide a sound critique. Sure. The sum of 2 rational numbers is rational. Well, go back to your notes and you will see that when you add 2 rational numbers, the result is rational, and you could provide an example, right? Anyways, so we are choosing which is not always true. When you add 2 rational numbers, you're always gonna get rational. The multiplication of 2 irrational numbers is rational. Here is where we find our little weakest link. When you multiply 2 irrational numbers, the product can be what? Rational or irrational. And then how do you provide critique? How do you critique the answer? How do you provide a sound argument? Well, you're right. Okay, I chose choice So once again, so you could write, I chose choice number 2 because the product of two irrational numbers can be rational or irrational. Example number 1, radical 2 times radical 5 equals radical 10, which is irrational because there's no square root of 10 that is perfect. And then example number 2, radical 2 times radical 18. That 2 times 18 is 36, so that's radical 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. 6 is a rational number because it can be written as 6 over 1, which is a fraction. See that? Not bad, right? Okay, let's move on to the next problem. So given the following expressions, okay, which expression results in an irrational number? Well, let's see now. Which expressions result in an irrational number? Okay, so here you have two fractions, so you know that the result will be rational. Here you have a rational plus an irrational. So the result here will be irrational, based on the facts that we have written before. Number 3, irrational times irrational can be either rational or irrational. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 5 squared, or the square root of 25, which in this case is 5. So that's rational. And then 3 times the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. That's rational. So which of these will result in an irrational thingy? Well, only 2 only, right? My God, you're such a gangster. Okay, okay. Somebody call me grandpa. Okay, you'll see. All right, so this is quiz number 10. I'm just gonna show it to you. It says, review your notes before completing as number 2 and 3. Make sure you come up with an original expression. You may not use the expressions featured on today's notes. Okay, fine. We're not talking about today's notes. Which expression does not result in an irrational number? Which expression does not result in irrational? So let's see. A is rational or irrational? Answer me. Right, this is irrational because that's the square root of 6, a bunch of numbers. Is this rational or irrational? You have a rational number times an irrational number. Okay. Square root of 25 or radical 25 is what? Rational. And square root of 64 is, wait, the cubic root of 64. I don't know. But, you know what? It don't matter. The cubic root of 64. So I'm gonna go and I am going to cubic root. I'm gonna go to math. Oh, you know what? Let me try something. Beautiful. I pressed alpha y equals and I just went to the right and right here. So cubic root of 64. I know what it is, but still, look. So now, what is it? It's 4. But why is the cubic root of 64 4? Well, think of it this way. The cubic root is looking for a number that, you know, like the square root of 9 is 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. Well, in the square root, we're looking for two numbers, right? I mean, we're looking for a number times itself so we could get the perfect square. Well, here is the perfect cube. Okay, so look, 4 times 4 times 4. That will give you 64. So therefore, the cubic root of 64 is 4. It's like if I say the cubic root of 8, it would be 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Get it? All right then, so this is rational. That's anyway what we were looking for. Okay, so now let's see. A plus B. A plus B. Irrational plus irrational will give you irrational. But we're looking for the one that is not going to give you that. So right away I could tell you that it's C plus D. You're awesome, Becker. All right. What else does it say here? Write a numerical expression of the sum of two irrational numbers resulting in an irrational number. So write a numerical expression of the sum of two irrational numbers that will result in irrational. Sure. I'm not gonna write a bunch of numbers. I could just write pi plus pi. That's 2 pi, and that is irrational. Numerical expression. Let me see. Do we have another number? Sure. Another example would be radical. Okay, 3 radical 5 plus 7 radical 5. That will give you 10 radical 5. See that? That's not bad. Alright, the next one. Write a numerical expression that of the sum of two irrational numbers resulting in a rational number. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of like not impossible, but let's see. Write a numerical expression of the sum of two irrational numbers resulting in a rational number. Alright, let me give you the easy one. If you have pi plus negative pi, you're gonna end up with 0. So that is when the sum of two irrational numbers is irrational. Okay? Or e plus negative e is 0. Radical 2 plus negative, the negative of radical 2, that's 0. So those are examples. Alright? Cool then. Next one. Liam says that the sum of 415.022222 and 3 over the square root of 100 is an irrational number. Do you agree or disagree? Explain your reasoning. Do you agree or disagree? Explain your reasoning. Well, let me see. I'm not going to do that problem. You're going to do it. Just remember that the square root of 100 has to be simplified to 10. Okay? And remember, what kind of number is this? What kind of number is this? Look at the rules and you say, based on these facts, okay, or based on my reasoning, or the sum of blah 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 plus blah 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 results in a, and then you write it whether it's rational or irrational. Or you could actually start with, I agree with this statement, or I disagree with that statement, because when you add blah 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 to what kind of numbers, you obtain blah blah blah. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much, and see you on the next episode of How Do We Pass Our Common Core Algebra Class and Regions. Bye bye, and I caught you.